So I'm down here by the planetarium and just looking at the lights. And again, at least it's all the way down here. That moves it further away from the city, but again, not great. And then I wonder if the planes get in the path of the telescope. So again, doing emissions from the plane and that, heating up the atmosphere, affecting the telescope's ability because it superheats the air, the jet engine, right? And creates these anomalies, like illusions in the desert. The heat creates those illusions while it distorts the telescope. So, again, I'm wondering, there's a plane, and you can see it, I think, right there. Again, what is the telescope and, what is the planetarium working with Midway and O'Hare? Making sure that just a little bit of course correction makes it, better. And then you can talk about the heating and cooling is actually more turbulence on land than over water. Water doesn't cool as fast and doesn't heat as fast, and this creates more stable over Lake Michigan than over land, because land cools and heats faster, and this is why it creates more turbulence for the aircraft flying over the city. So again, they should reroute, and the aircraft should take a path. Now they can still get the view of the city, but they're flying left and right of the city. So creating a buffer zone so there's no aircraft allowed in the city. Truly, there's no aircraft flying over. They don't need to fly over the city, and it has, and I'll show you on Tumblr, greater thermal updrafts and that, high and low pressure zones, and again, it creates more turbulence, and that can create air pockets. And again, it would be better for them to fly left and right of the city, and this means New York or anything else. And then even landing in DC, they can take a path that's a little bit different, and they can implement this in the United States. So you don't get any 9/11s because there's just a natural buffer that planes aren't flying over the city. And number two, I showed you before, a jet engine fell off, and it did in New York. And you don't want it falling off over a dense populated city, which, thank God, minimal damage. But again, think about it falling off in like downtown Chicago. And turbulence truly causes these things. So reducing the turbulence that these planes experience keeps the plane longer, less potential for airframe collapse. So they don't understand with the route of the plane, it's the same thing with the sea and everything. Routing the ships correctly takes less toll on the ships and that. So you have to look at this in two ways. One, obviously fuel. Number two, stress on the airframe. And these are multi-million, or a super tanker might be, I don't know how many millions. So if you talk aircraft carrier, well, let's talk the new super tankers or the new super ships. They cost a fortune, that carry 24, 30, going to 40,000 individual containers, the Supermaxes. So you think about them, I think aircraft carriers are far and few between. But commercial jets, look at what's happening in Qatar and Saudi Arabia and that. They're forming regional airlines and intercontinental airlines. So that means, again, building out airports like China was building out an additional 100, and India, I don't know if it's an additional 100, because you're building Chicago executive little regional carriers with main hubs for more national and international flights. And they're doing that through Latin America. And so you say military, the commercial industry is much bigger than the military industry. The military is actually a pimple on the fucking ass when we talk overall airplane volume or ship volume. So yeah, they have higher tax, they cost a little bit more, but again, it's a very small industry. And how do I know this? I studied the defense industry. And those defense firms are so fragile, where Boeing and Airbus, they have incredible robust, they do non-military satellites, they have space programs. Airbus should be in the space program. Boeing's in the space program. And so they do satellites, and they have, majority of all their business is non-military oriented. So, and that's their fastest growing components. So again, and they license all kind of, like Boeing had the first self-driving. Boeing has been doing it since the 747 when they created, and Boeing did create this for the 747 to be able to land and take off. And you think drones, I watched the making of this originally long time ago, and Boeing already had self-driving. So, again, they've been ahead of this curve, that aircraft industries, but ships can do the same thing. Truly. And they can take in through sensors and everything, new sensor arrays and that, making sure that it works with the commanders and that, but it does. Cameras that take into account current movements, and truly, that's shape recognition, night vision, infrared. Infrared can log wave motion, and they can work with them and, basically give better feedback in that, and they can program the system. I mean, do you know they've been doing this forever on airlines, and the pilot and co-pilot are backup systems. So again, they're backup systems, and you need to be there, but they've been doing this for a long time. And so again, they have a lot of technology. They can move out and work joint. They can go jointly with Uber or Tesla or any of them, working with their system. So the Tesla rocket returning, they already have that for airplanes. So taking off and landing back, that's like landing an airplane. So it's vertical. They're horizontal, but it doesn't matter. It's still the same thing. You're working with the stabilizers and everything else. So again, Boeing could have been doing this a long time ago. And splashing down in the ocean, like I said, you don't want the capsules to splash down in the ocean. You don't know what type of contaminants they could have. And truly, you want them to land. That's why I like the space shuttle program. I was a huge supporter. And when it blew up, I was like, there goes the program. And what happened? There went the program. And I was excited. The first, they had the teacher, the female, she died in there. But again, they were bringing a teacher into space, and she could basically tell her experience back to her students. And so, again, building out their thrill of doing this. And again, here I'm violated by a guy in a Hyundai. Pieces of shit all over the place. And it's 4:21 in the morning. And I'm already getting tailgated by some fucking piece of filth. Chicago is such a dirtbag city. And you think, one time I was proud to be burned here. I cursed the day I was born here. I hate this fucking city. And every day they build up more and more hatred. Truly. And if there's anything, I want it all torn down and erased. Truly. I don't want any legacy left behind. You fucked me. And you're like, oh, that's good. That's what we wanted to do. Hide all you do so we can not face the consequences. Either way, you're going to face the consequences. That's why I call you suckers for Satan. There is no hiding it. You're fucked. And every day you continue, you just get more fucked. That's how dumb you are. You gotta be some of the dumbest motherfucking people in the world. Maybe all of you should be institutionalized. And I'm not against outpatient, but it seems like people here need to be institutionalized. They're a bunch of fucking shitbags. They have some serious fucking problems. You can't drive properly? I mean, you have some serious fucking problems. This used to be the Day's End. Now it's the W. And upstairs used to be awesome. It can be a beautiful dining room in the W that looks over the lake. An incredible, elegant, high-end dining room. It has an uninterrupted view, never interrupted. It has beautiful sunsets and sunrises back at that hotel. It was at Day's End. How do I know? 1990, when I worked at Baja, the guy who ran the hotel used to come in, the general manager. And he gave me a card for any time I wanted to go, I could stay at the hotel. I never used it. I had stacks and stacks of comps that were unbelievable. Truly unbelievable stacks of comps. But I was too busy working. But then it turned in, and my friends ran it when it was the W. They ran upstairs. It was a nightclub. So that goes back to so many of my friends. But anyways, it has an incredible view. That hotel has an incredible view of the lake. Beautiful morning sunrises. And yes, the sun sets on the other side, but they still see the lake, the sun going down on the lake. So indirectly, it has beautiful sunsets. You're not seeing the sun go down, but you're seeing the light go down on the lake. I watched this from A Mountain in Tucson. I could see the sun rise on one side and then rise on another side of the valley because the mountains separated. And it was awesome. And then I could watch it set on one side and then set on another side. And, you know, Tucson preserving it, I used to go up into the foothills and go up to a restaurant sitting on the patio, and you have amazing sunsets from the foothill. From the foothills of Tucson. It's unbelievable. My sister didn't like it, but she didn't spend time in the foothills. I took Jen up to the foothills, and I could have done more with her in the foothills, but she liked Tucson. So again, I'm very fond of Tucson. So I like my time in Tucson. Actually, more than I liked in Scottsdale or Phoenix. So I like Tucson a lot. And I love that I went to the University of Arizona. I picked it. I looked at UCLA, USC, and other schools, and then I went up there with Mark. I stayed with him, but I further researched it, and it was awesome because most of the kids live around campus. They don't have much commuters, and it just has an incredible campus life, and the university is a big source in Tucson where it's the major player, but it doesn't over eclipse because you can go in the foothills and that and be outside the university's reach. And so if you want to be in depth in the university, you can, and if you want to get away from it, you have the ability to get away from it. It's 45 miles an hour on Lakeshore Drive. 45 miles an hour. And again, I don't get it. Truly. So, again, that minimizes the damage. Truly, going off into the... I watched a guy who was flying, well, the aftermath. He flew on the incoming traffic on 94. He went over the medium, and the car flew. It was the biggest accident I ever saw. An accident on the incoming and accident on the outgoing because he flew over the medium and the car got hit by outgoing traffic. But the car went airborne. So, do you really want people speeding down Lakeshore Drive? And if they lose it, like here, they end up in the fucking beach or whatever, driving like animals? So, I don't get it. I truly don't get it. Here it says it's 40 miles an hour, not 45 anymore. So, I mean, I don't get it. Just because there hasn't been massive tragedy, it's all set up that way. And so the whole point is, you can see the vulnerability. You don't have to test it. It's already there. It just hasn't happened yet. And then there's been incidents like the one guy who got on Lakeshore Drive going the wrong way, and it was early morning, and he freaking ran into head oncoming traffic. And the person, I think, in the oncoming traffic died, not the person in the car because he was drunk. But again, doing a little bit of signage, you got to do more in that. That sign can have proximity sensors and flash and everything, which they already have them, and it notices them. Truly, with solar panels now, with reverse solar, integrating solar and reverse solar, now it allows these things to run 24/7, even in snow, rain, fog. And the lighting can be adaptive to the weather, so the lights can cut through any weather, even fog. Truly. So that's the whole point I put out there about solar and reverse solar. So these systems, these signages, like here, 40 miles an hour, they can have a solar panel on it with a radar gun saying, slow down or you're going to get a ticket. And if they ignore that and they get to the next post and it says ticket being issued and police have your plates, please get off at next exit. If not, it is aggravated driving and now a felony, resisting arrest. You got to get off to receive the ticket. And then they do the well-being check and breathalyzer and all that. So it automates it and sends you right to the police. And if you resist, well, then you got a felony. So even a drunken, stupid person is going to pull over. So again, we gotta set up the systems, and that's why I gave you these systems and want you to adopt, so there's no fucking excuse anymore. I'm sick and tired of all your fucking bullshit excuses. Excuses are like assholes. And what do you do when you adopt? You fund the R&D, the research and that. You build out the intellectual properties. And that's what you should be doing. So again, adopting and integrating. And again, this all can be transmitted, and with the solar and reverse solar, it has all the information. It's got the plate reader and everything. And you either got to pull over or you're screwed. So the police don't have to do high-speed chases. Meaning running on the express here and flooding it after you. You're already told, pull over, state trooper is coming. So we can automate it. And it tells you, pull over at next turn-in. Trooper will be there in 5 minutes. Again, we need to set up the systems. Sick and tired of these shitbags. So again, you have no excuse, because in any weather situation, it works. The energy is there. And so you don't have to set up the power lines or anything. And one thing, in the municipal grid, that's the fastest way. And then you can put back the fucking call boxes on the side of the road, because you have the solar panel and reverse solar. And if you want, you can throw a little wind thing on it too, with a battery storage. And, you know, it could be, you know, salt, molten salt storage. But again, we can put back the call boxes. I'm sick and tired you got rid of the fucking call boxes. They used to have them on the side of the highway. And then you decided to rip them all up. Through your stupid ass leadership. You're dumbass, like this dumbass behind me. Or I say Damas in French, but in English, dumbass. And I love that commercial, Dumas and Dumas. And he's like, so, Mr. Dumbass. Well, in English, he's right. It's pronounced dumbass. But in French, it's Dumas. And it points out ironic, because if you're in France, you say Dumas. So you can use that in English and just call them Dumas. And there's a Dumas, and there's a Dumas. And so, again, instead of calling him a dumbass, just call him a Dumas. I got a Dumas over there, and a Dumas over here, and a Dumas all the way around. So again, it's a way to call a spade a spade. Dumas, Dumas, Dumas. So again, there's no more excuse. Implement or burn is my slogan. Implement or die forever. Fuck you all. Or save your own ass by implementing.